Test, test. How's that? Still a little bit loud, I'll admit, but not too bad. As they make their way, I'm going to lower this still, just a little bit. How's that? Probably pretty good. As they make their way over to turn number 4. Oh, and look at this! Okay, that's probably pretty good. Okay, cool. Let's just see how this looks. So, I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look good. Much can I make this stream go up more? I don't think I can. We're just gonna ball with this at what do you call it? Screen is very, very dark, I'll admit that. I can change the thing now. Layout, qualifying, practice, time trial, elimination, layout, race. Okay, so that's useless now. Graphics settings. Turn that up a little bit because this, at least my screen is very dark. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Is that too bright for you guys as well? For just my screen is very dark right now, so I can't tell if that's too... If that's too bright, let me know. Because I'm on a different monitor, so on my screen it's very dark. For you guys, I don't know if it's too bright or not, so just let me know. Yeah, hey, appreciate you joining in. Got 5 minutes left here in Quali. Usually I don't broadcast Quali just on the basis of... Honestly, not a lot of people really watch it. If they're going to watch anything, they're going to skip through to the race. But we can chill here for a bit as we watch these guys go around the circuit here. Glad I was able to make it on time. Went to a bit of a hockey game tonight, which is always fun. So hopefully that's pretty good. Let me know definitely if the mic is too loud or too quiet. Obviously, it's quite late here on the East Coast, so I'm trying to keep the volume level down just a little bit. But if this is an acceptable volume, then we'll continue with this. If not, I can always raise it or lower it. That's fine. I will put it slightly further away from my face because I know I do get quite loud, so... I will put it slightly... It's a bit bright, but I can see. Okay, I can lower it a little bit. Just, again, the screen that I'm on is very, very dark at the moment, so... yeah, what was I at? It was at 100, so of... Yeah, okay, if that's default, then fine. Oh, it doesn't even look that bad now, actually, tell you the truth. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, that does look a lot better. I got my second screen open. That does look good. Only 13 on the grid tonight, which is slightly unfortunate because this track is genuinely, I have to say, one of my favorite tracks to actually visit here virtually, just because of the fact that it's got such a flow to it. It really is great. Let me get my track map open. Here we, I I didn't quite watch any of the winter testing. Unfortunately, of course, that's 2 a.m. for us here on the East Coast, so that was a big just not going to do that for me. I think the second session goes off at 7, so that's valid. I could probably wake up a little early and get to that, but otherwise, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to really wake up at 2 to watch uncompetitive F1 cars, I guess. I don't know. It's tricky. I think in seasons past, I've definitely woken up and been like, okay, this is the best day of my life. Oh, hot spot going live. Yeah, I tell you what. Well, I'm at my. It's vacation week here on the East Coast, at least in the Northeast. Here we got a February break, so I've made a bit of a road trip down south, couple of states, couple 100 miles. So, tell you what, my grandmother's house has damn good internet. I'll say that much. But so yeah, I think tonight's cast and tomorrow's what do you call it? Stream, Midwest F1 stream is gonna be broadcasted live, of course. I'm not gonna spoil anything there, but shaping up to be probably my last Midwest F1 cast for a little while. Got 2 minutes left here in the qualifying session. Charlie Golf behind behind Reimer by half a second, which is quite a lot, by the way. But I think as well, you have to realize the talent that Reimer's got on this track here. It is a track that suits him very well, of course. This is a track that obviously is played more towards a higher downforce rather than straight line speed more than anything else. I think that will definitely suit him, considering as well that there is just only the one DRS section. Should he keep it clean, I think he's got a fair shot at winning tonight, as realistically that goes for a lot of these guys on the grid as well. There are, and I've said this again, genuinely the top 7 or 8 guys could go out here and win this race tonight, should things go their way. Reimer's a great driver, Scorns is a great driver, Charlie Golf's a great driver, Manson's really good, King Pro player, really good as well. Johnny Damon, if he was a little bit more lucky, could be on the podium every single week. Merck has shown some pace as well. Minute left here in the qualifying session. Charlie Golf entering the pit lane. Reimer is on an out lap now. Once again, if I did mess around with the gamma a little bit, so if it's too bright, let me know. If I'm too quiet or too loud, let me know. Of course, it's 10 o'clock here on the East Coast, so I'm trying to keep the volume down a little bit, that I'm not in my own house as normal. So, but that's all right. I think as long as we're at this volume here, we're all right. 25 seconds left. Reimer is probably going to get round. Well, I appreciate that. It's been a while since I've been live again. It's just good circumstances here is allowing me to go live. Scornsy is retired from the session, so it looks like unless Charlie Golf's not going to get out there, unless King Pro player's got something really, really good going here, it looks like he's going to take pole. We can officially, I don't want to say officially start the stream here after we get to the results page, but we're at the very least using this as a bit of a test session, potentially for the live stream. King Pro's not going to be improving. Johnny Damon might. Let's see what Damon's got here. 121.115 to beat. I think he might get it. Oh, he's not going to get it, but he will improve at least one spot there. King Pro is not improving. Jabor has just gone 7th. Yeah, it's going to be it, unless Reimer beats his own time, which he's gone purple sector 1, so he just might. King Pro is going to enter the pit lane here. He is not going to be improving. So what you're looking at here, not necessarily regardless, but this order at least is going to be correct, unless I've missed a... Oh, Angry Walrus has joined. That's good news. Good to see. Puts us at 14. That's a good grid. I can respect the 14 car grid, you know. Some of these casts I do with 13 guys does start to get a little bit, not even really redundant, but say 1 or 2 guys DNF, it's just like, well, okay, it's just a procession going on now. 120.965 for Reimer. That's pretty good. King Pro player is entering the pit lane. I suppose I can start the proceedings once we get to the next menu, potentially. Say officially start the proceedings. I'm not really given a proper open quite yet, but that's all right. Well, hello, friends. Glad you could join us. Welcome to the 6th round of the CCRL Wednesday tier season. We are at the Losail Circuit in Qatar for another edition of the season. Let's run you through your starting grid. Reimer on pole, 129.65 was the time to beat. Scornsey in second by half a second behind Charlie Golf. Third, Damon fourth. Manson fifth. King Pro, Jabor, Merck, Curveball. Hemphead, Onyote, and Owa, the pair of the Red Bulls, will lock out row 6. Bong It will start 13th, and Angry Walrus will round out the grid P14 without a time on the board. It's been a very interesting season so far here. This kind of not necessarily pay to win is not exactly the the terminology I would use to describe, but it has been a very fun season so far. We've had a lot of good action so far here. Japan last time out was quite fun. Austria the week before that was also very good. Let's run you through your driver and constructor standings while we've got a minute here. Reimer does lead. Sorry, I can't zoom in on the picture. Oh no. It is Charlie Golf on top of the point standings. In first place with 103 points. DJE Flat in second, only behind by 10 points. Reimer in third. It'll be Merck fourth, Armanson fifth, Owa sixth, seventh will be King Pro, eighth Curveball, ninth will be Walrus, and rounding out the top 10 will be Johnny Damon. As far as the constructors are concerned, the Mercedes team does lead the way. That power duo there of Reimer and Charlie Golf absolutely smacking it about right now. Of course, they only have a 12-point gap over the Alpines in second, the Astons in third, the McLarens in fourth, the V-Carbs in fifth, the Willies in sixth. Seventh belongs to the Red Bull team. Eighth will be the Saubers, leapfrogging Ferrari. The Haas's after last week. Haas drops down to ninth, and then running out the grid in P10 will be that of the Ferrari side. And hey, while we're at it, be sure to join us next time out as well, March 12th, when we head to the Circuit of the Americas in Coda for what should be another fantastic edition of the CCRL Wednesday tier. Following that will be Monza as well on March 19th, and then April 2nd. We'll head to the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Those are your next 3 rounds coming ahead. This Qatar circuit, Losail Circuit, it's a very fun track. It's difficult to get around. It's very flowy. You know, one mistake. Glad to see Merck still holding it down for the Alpines. Miss race was. I tell you what, he's done very good. And well, again, as I was saying, the discrepancy in the qualifying times here kind of doesn't show the whole picture. I genuinely believe, again, there is probably 7 or 8 guys on this grid right now, that top 7 cars, that could genuinely have a hand in winning this race if it goes poorly for those above them. I think this track, again, it's very flowy. You cannot make mistakes at all because there is just simply not that many opportunities to get back. You're not going to find too many overtaking moves in anywhere except that first corner. Of course, only just this run down the pit straight with DRS, the only DRS section on this circuit. You may find a couple heading in through 2 and 3. Kind of that transition there in that first sector does start to have the stars align, going another double right-hander of 4 and 5. You may see some, if you're lucky, into turn 6. Turn 16 if you're getting desperate. I mean, again, other than that, you're just really not going to see too many moves made without that 8 of DRS, which is another thing on this circuit because as there's no heavy braking zones, there's only one braking zone on this track, which I believe will go down to second gear. That's turn 6, the left-hander. Everything else is third and above. That will tell us that there is not a lot of opportunity to reharvest energy on this circuit, so the driver's going to have to be very, very conservative with how they use it and when. That is a difficult game to play on a track where there's only one DRS section. That is such a difficult thing to manage for those involved. I genuinely believe that if the drivers are not careful with that tonight, it's going to come back to bite them. Just a reminder, once we see the grid, it's going to be go time, as no formation lap here in CCRL. So honestly, I only have one league that does, out of the 3 that I commentate right now, only one has formation lap. And honestly, it's a little unfortunate because how we get to see those cars angled in on the grid nowadays, I think formation lap is definitely better, but for the interest of saving time, I do think that keeping it off is probably better. But anyway, here we are then, lights turning on here in Qatar for the 6th time this season. Who will it be getting the advantage into the first corner? Let's find out. The lights are out and away they go. Reimer does lead off the line. Scornsy in second. Charlie Golf third. Charlie Golf is going to have something here. He's going to try the outside of Reimer in towards turn 1. Nearly 3 abreast, and it is 3 abreast, in fact. Reimer's going to try to hold it in the middle. There's definitely contact there between the two Silver Arrows. As Scornsy around the outside through turn 2, he's going to be able to make that happen. So against all odds there, Scornsy's actually going to be the one getting the benefit there through the first sector. Charlie Golf now trying to battle Johnny Damon. Damon's actually gone for it here. Golf's going to go a little bit wide there through turn 4, and there's absolutely some jostling about going on now between them. 13 to 18, medium to hard. That's your strategy. Johnny Damon has had a bit of an incident there. I think maybe did he get too much contact with the Mercedes of Charlie Golf. He'll now have to try to defend around the outside of King Pro Player. He'll absolutely park it on the apex there going through turn 7, and he's able to hold it. Manson and King Pro now side by side, and it's very difficult to kind of weave your way through these first couple of sectors here, because genuinely it's not even that it's very tight, but these corners are very jagged for how quick they are. So any wrong move will result in disaster, as Curveball will get down King Pro there down to the inside, going through the initial bit of the triple right-hander at turn 12, albeit slightly a little bit of force being used. That's quite all right. Hey, Rubbin's racing right, that's what they say. As they exit the first lap of the Grand Prix, Scornsy has taken the lead. He's up to the top spot. Reimer has lost his top spot, is now down to second. Charlie Golf has remained third. Charlie Golf nearly had a very solid attempt at his teammate there around the outside at turn 1, but with how the corners flow, it was actually Scornsy, that driver on the inside of those 3 cars, that was able to take the advantage off the line, having the outside go of it round through turn 2, and then the inside here through 3, which was able to give him the lead, as there was a little bit of contact as well between the 2 Mercedes cars. Johnny Damon seems to have recovered back up to the 4th spot. Remember, he was challenging for Charlie Golf's 3rd position there, had a bit of contact. The car had temporarily gone off the pace there. He's gotten it back, as we now have a yellow flag, and I'm afraid bong it. No, it's not bong it. Who is it? We had a yellow flag there. I'm not sure who it was, but either way. Angry Walrus, despite not even having a qualifying lap on the board here. No time to his name, is plus 4 spots, having started 14th, now up to 10th. 3rd, 4th, and 5th have stayed the same. Owa is up 4, Walrus up 4, and Curveball up 3. Those are the biggest movers so far, as we are nearing the completion of the 2nd lap here, the 29 scheduled for this evening. Scornsy already has a 2-second advantage over Reimer. This is what we were talking about in the build-up, is that any given driver in the top 7 cars could absolutely have an opportunity to win this race, should they keep themselves clean and be able to find an advantage where the cars around them may not. And that's exactly what's happened with Scornsy. He's used the Calamity off the start to his advantage, and he has not looked back since. Of course, being in this circuit, how difficult it is, there's always opportunity for safety car to be thrown into the mix. DRS activated. Manson definitely feels it. He's powered around Johnny Damon around the outside into the first corner, and now up to the 4th spot for the Aston. He's now plus 1 in the day. And as they weave their way through the remainder of Sector 1, Scornsy does still have the advantage, 2.5 seconds over Reimer in second. Charlie Golf only 4/10 of a second behind his teammate. We didn't quite have a look at the tire strategy for this evening. The majority of the grid, as usual, will have gone to the mediums, although a good amount of drivers hard for this evening. Reimer, King Pro, Jabor, Walrus, and Merck, the 5 cars this evening who have gone hard. Everybody else has stayed medium. Reimer, again, being the 2nd driver in this championship battle, has taken I'm not going to say taken the loss on the tire strategy, but he has gone for the alternate starting tire there. Realistically, he'll try to make the mediums in the 2nd stint there a viable option. I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. He'll be able to overcut as much as he can. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure, again, if that's a fantastic idea. Of course, what it is, I think it was last week in Japan, we had these 2 guys come into the pit lane at the same time into the safety car. And, these double stacks in this game does not work at all when you're that close together. So I think that's kind of what we saw, and that's why Reimer has decided to go the opposite strategy now. So look at this. So Manson's going to lose 2 spots there. Curveball finds the middle. Damon will be able to find the outside there. Damon to the 4th spot, Curveball up the 5th. Manson will be the one losing both 4th and 5th there. down to 6th now, and that will almost allow King Pro back into the fray here. Owa's about a second and a half behind. He's not quite close enough to play a factor in that battle quite yet. A little bit further behind, Merck is actually going to have a look to the inside of Anyote here. Through turn 4, he's all 4 tires over the white line there, really, but he's still trying his best, still within reach. And unfortunately, I think he is just going to have to back out of that one. He's not going to be close. Oh, but look at this. Hemphead has had a bit of a mishap there, and that may allow Merck into position. So Merck will slip down to 14th. Well, kind of like 4th, but with another 10 after him. Anyway, not the point. So about to begin lap number 5. It does certainly appear to this point again that Scornsey will be the driver to beat, which in the recent runnings here in CCRL, it has seemed as if Scornsey has been the driver to beat. Again, I think he's just not gotten very lucky, and we've seen that a couple of times now, races that Scornsey probably should have rightly won, and it just wasn't able to happen, and I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again here, because I have commentated on Scornsey for the better part of 5 years now. He is the quickest driver I've ever seen, having the first-hand experience of having to commentate on. By far the quickest. I mean, the guy just knows how to run this, and he's only recently, again, has just picked up F124. He really did not play this game at all, allegedly until about January, so realistically, for having just kind of jumped back in at both feet first, he's done quite well. We'll have to wait and see if that will hold true here as well. Because, again, we have seen it a couple times this season where these guys do get slightly chippy towards the end of it, considering, again, that there is money on the line for this season. Which, again, we kind of debated at the beginning of the season, was that going to bring out the best in the drivers or the worst? But I tell you what, the talent has absolutely found their way to the forefront. I think, for what it's worth, it's kept everybody in this as well. Everybody is battling for something. And I think that's very important here. As Hemphead may have a look at Merck, it appears Merck has gotten back up to that 12th spot after having slipped down to 14th last time round. Keep an eye on him, potentially. Curveball is going to have a look at Johnny Damon here. He's going to choose the inside line into the first corner, as it appears the 2 Mercedes might be trying to swap positions here. Oh, Charlie Golf's going to get into Reimer. Oh, and that's just not a good look there, is it? Because that's cost him collectively about 3/10 there. I think realistically right now I'm a little surprised that Reimer has not allowed Charlie Golf around here, considering that Charlie Golf is on those medium tires. He would, I would argue, probably be the quicker of the 2 Mercedes. Reimer obviously was the pole sitter for this event, but Charlie Golf with those tires, with the delta between them, I would absolutely argue that he's the quicker of the 2 Silver Arrows. And I'm a little surprised Reimer hasn't realized that for the time being. Maybe will he... maybe is he just waiting for that pit window, necessarily? I don't know what the game plan is there. They are, of course, leading the constructor standings. So whatever they're doing, it is working. That's for sure. It appears Anyote will get around Hemphead. They're exiting turn 7 into the triple right-hander now, 12, 13, and 14. Doesn't appear anybody's going to be right close to making a move here. Potentially Johnny Damon on curveball. I think that move is going to be set up nicely into turn 1, if available, as we begin the 7th lap of the Grand Prix. As we have a yellow flag towards the back, Obongit has had an off there, and I think he's had, well, he's at least into the gravel. It appears he's not hit anything, and the track will stay green. Charlie Golf this time to the inside of Reimer, and again, Reimer refusing to cede that position there, considering as well, again, we think Charlie Golf is probably the quicker of the 2 Mercedes cars. Johnny Damon, I believe, has gotten around curveball there, either that or he's defended the position. I think he's more or less just actually defended that 4th spot nicely enough. So Damon will stay 4th, curveball 5th, Manson 6th, King Pro 7th. Nobody has yet to pick up a penalty so far today, knock on wood somewhere, somebody. Pretty chaotic opening lap or 2 to this race. Since then, I'm not going to say mundane. It's been very calm, very collected. We have seen a couple of overtakes here and there. There's some good battle going on in the midfield, that's for sure. I think the podium 3 realistically, 2 out of the podium 3 in a class of their own. The other one is a step above that, as Scornsey, since the off, has immediately picked up a 4-second gap to the 2 Mercedes cars behind him. King Pro at the tail end of this little battle here for the 4th spot, again on those hard tires, so he'll be at the disadvantage at least for the time being. Whether or not it stays that way, we'll have to wait and see. DRS will, of course, be activated once more. Down the pit straight, Johnny Damon used a little bit of his energy in defense there, as I believe that's Bong having an off there, exiting 14. Around the outside is going to be Curveball in towards turn 1. A bit of a lockup for Johnny Damon, but Curveball has taken that spot cleanly enough. Let's see if Damon can potentially power around the outside at 2, and he's not going to be afforded that opportunity, I'm afraid. Hemphead has picked up a 3-second penalty somewhere along the line. We're not too sure, but that was the first car of the day to pick up a track limits penalty. Still a very tight battle going here for that 4th spot. Very surprised that it's this tight and this kind of not necessarily going to throw into argy-bargy territory here, but they are absolutely going for it. Again, we're about 5 laps out from the pit window for the majority of the field on these medium tires. We look behind, King Pro has gotten clean underneath Manton there, going in towards turn 7. That was a very unexpected maneuver from King Pro. Again, we're really just not going to see too many moves be made going through the first 2 sectors. There's only really 1 or 2 hard braking zones on the circuit. Everything else is very quick, very fluid. So to have cars go side by side through pretty much anything after Sector 1 is probably just not going to happen. Again, this track, I don't believe, was it specifically designed for MotoGP? Either way, that is kind of where this circuit got its attention. And you could tell, again, it's a circuit that is very fun to drive on, very difficult to race on. As Bonga has had an off coming out of turn 1, he's slightly recovered that car from the gravel. I'm not entirely sure if he's hit anything, but his day going from bad to worse relatively quickly. As, oh, look at this, Johnny Damon has, that was King Pro player, has gotten to the inside of both Johnny Damon and Curveball in towards turn 1. Fantastic move there. I apologize I haven't been able to see it, as I was rambling about something else, which does happen occasionally. I apologize. But King Pro now up to the 4th spot. Again, the top 2nd and 3rd in a league of their own. Scornsey, the leader, a league above that, who I will say now is actually starting to lose a bit of time to the cars behind him. Reimer in 2nd on those hard compound tires, which we saw. We thought that was probably slightly a mistake here, unless... Well, now that would absolutely have been a mistake either way if there was an early safety car or not. But what I will say is this, he is starting to close down ever so slightly on the Sauber in the lead. I'm not entirely sure how this strategy battle is going to look, just because... And again, it's interesting right now because you may think that Scornsey's the quickest driver on track, and for the most part you'd be right. Reimer did start this race on pole, so it's a little interesting to see Reimer struggle as much as he is right now. Considering how quick he was in that qualifying session, as one of the Ferraris is off round again. King Pro players picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Was that coming out of turn 16? That's a slightly odd place to pick up a penalty, as now Agnote has had somewhat of an off as well. In towards turn 1 they go. There will be no challenge from either of the 3 cars behind him immediately this time. As still making their way now. Charlie Golf, what I will say is this, initially did look the quicker of the 2 Mercedes drivers. That does not appear to be the case anymore, as those hard tires have definitely come into play for the Sauber, not the Sauber, for the Mercedes of Reimer in his pursuit of the Sauber ahead, as Reimer's actually going to get outside of DRS range on Charlie Golf here. So this is huge for Reimer, considering as well that if he's comfortable with the car right now, it's still another 3-4 laps until this pit window for those on the mediums. Reimer can actually have a fair shot at, making a move for the win here once he's on those medium tires. Bonget has had another bit of a spin there coming out of turn 16. The day for the Ferrari team has gone from bad to worse very, very quickly. Sorry, it appears that Hemphead has decided to call it quits for the day in the pit lane. What I can tell you now is that Reimer has gotten outside of that second gap on Charlie Golf now, about a second and a half. King Pro could be in trouble here, making their way into the first corner. Not quite. Oh, look at this. Well, never mind. I was going to say curveball cleanly overshot that braking zone, but it appears that he's having a bit of connectivity issue. That car is jumping all around like the House of Pain right now. Looking a little bit further back, Jabor is within 0.3 of Merck. His curveball is going to pick up a 3-second penalty as well. Car's starting to find those penalties there. Those are some critical players as well in the top 5. King Pro on 3 seconds, curveball on 3 seconds. Those are not penalties that they can afford to have, really. I mean, it's very competitive in the midfield. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Jabor has gotten within at his closest 0.3 of a second away from Merck for that 10th spot. Since then, he's not exactly closed back in. As it appears Agnote has gone around. Yes, he has. That's exiting turn 6. The heavy braking zone to begin sector 2. Probably, I think, the heaviest braking zone on this track as well. I think the only corner on the circuit in which you will go 2-second gear. Everything else is 3rd or above. Which, honestly, come to think of it, I can't think of another track where that's the case. Maybe Spain? No, you would hit 2nd going into the left-hander at turn 10 at Spain after the 2nd DRS straight there. Yeah, so I don't know. It appears Owa is going to be our first medium tire runner of the day into the pit lane. It'll obviously be the hard tires for him. No front wing change necessary. Of course, it has, again, it's been a very clean Grand Prix so far. A couple of contacts made from drivers here and there in the beginning, and I do want to point this out as well. I didn't initially notice this at first. Charlie Golf has lost an additional 2 seconds to the back of Reimer. Either Charlie Golf has made a significant error somewhere along the line, or Reimer is just simply pulling ahead, and I think it might be a slight mix of the two. Of course, Reimer, this is as close as he's been to Scornsey since the beginning of the Grand Prix. I mean, pretty much after that first lap, Scornsey had at least a 1.5 second advantage over the rest of the top 3, and now, of course, Reimer on those hard tires, definitely, I would think, the best tires to be on right now, considering running against those in his surroundings also on those mediums. So I think Reimer is going to be coming into play here very quickly as Scornsey's into the pit lane. Now this appears to be slightly an undercut here. I thought initially from the tire graphic that it gave us in the beginning of the race that we were going to see guys pit end of the 13th lap to lap, what was it, like 15. So this feels kind of like an undercut here from Scornsey. Of course, in these 50% distance Grand Prix, an undercut is very simply 1 or 2 laps at the very most. It's not a lot. However, when I think about it now, Scornsey is now back to P10. This is the furthest down the grid, obviously, he's been all day. If we look at the gap from the leader on back, it is currently Reimer in the lead. 22 seconds behind that is Scornsey. So the question is going to be, will Scornsey be able to claw back enough time to retake the lead once Reimer and the rest pit? And then once Reimer pits for those medium tires, will he be able to get his way back to Scornsey thereafter? What I will say is this, Scornsey's going to be coming into a bit of traffic here with Jabor, Merck, Walrus immediately ahead of him. This is going to get slightly dicey here for Scornsey if he's not able to make his way around these guys clean enough. I think that is, I'm not going to say worrying for the Sauber, but he's suddenly now got some difficulty. Again, this race has been dominated by the Sauber since the off, pretty much. We had the two Mercedes cars battle each other into turn 1. Reimer in the middle, Charlie Golf on the outside heading into that corner. As Charlie Golf's going to enter the pit lane, King Pro player will stay out. King Pro also having started on the hards. Hard tires, of course, for Charlie Golf. Damon has entered the pits as well, following which is Curveball. Walrus has stayed out. Matter of fact, Walrus is in a good battle here with Merck for what will be that 3rd spot. Merck's going to get down to the inside and take that 3rd spot away from Walrus. Of course, that puts Scornsey back up to 5th. We're assuming everybody who is stopping coming in for the hard tires. That's absolutely true. Only just the top 4 and Jabor left to make the dive for the pit lane here. Between Reimer and the eventual leader of Scornsy currently is 21.8 seconds. Again, Reimer will exit the pit lane on the medium tires. Will that put him at the advantage? When it comes to clean head-to-head pace here with the Sauber, I'm not entirely sure, but what Scornsy's got to do here, he's got to be careful because he's got these guys around them, Walrus and Merc and King Pro, who have yet to stop here, and Scornsy can't afford to waste time. He's got to get around these guys. Simultaneously, though, he's got to be careful because these guys are on much older tire than him, and just genuinely, this is such a difficult spot here for Scornsy. Because these guys, I mean, for lack of a better term, and there's no offense to them, they're in the way. They haven't stopped yet. And they're not going to move, obviously. They're in a race with everybody else, as they should be. But for Scornsy, I mean, this is worst-case scenario. Johnny Damon appears to have taken a trip through the gravel somewhere along the line. He seems to have regained his composure, and the track will stay green. Scornsy, 10th of a second now down to the inside of Angry Walrus. He will pick up the 4th spot. What I will say is this, Reimer on those hard tires still, the ones in which he started this race on, is gaining time. Behind the King Pro player, albeit only a couple of hundredths here and there. Although King Pro has not had a good trek through Sector 1 that time. So that'll put 22 some odd seconds to the back end of Scornsy, who is actually trying to find his way around the outside of Merc here through 4 and 5. Bold spot, and he's made it happen. Well, well done to Scornsy. Puts himself up to 3rd in such critical time as well. We're about halfway through this Grand Prix. Reimer still needs to stop. I would assume Reimer and Scornsy are going to be right on even with each other coming out of the pit lane here. We'll have to wait and see what Reimer decides to do. Will he stop this time by, or will he wait a couple laps more? Because again, Reimer's still putting good time back to King Pro. And in fairness, Scornsy isn't really clawing up to King Pro either. So Reimer is going to stay out. I would assume he's going to spend these last probably 10 laps on the mediums. I highly doubt he would go to the softs, even if he's got them available. Maybe if by some ridiculous opportunity do we get a safety car here in the last 10 and we see the guys put on softs if they're available. I doubt it. Reimer still in the lead. 22 seconds ahead of Scornsy, who will be the eventual race leader here, allegedly. Of course, Reimer will be going to the medium tire, so this is where it gets interesting, because again, Scornsy will get the lead back for the time being, but will Reimer be able to claw his way back up to position here on those medium tires, which will be naturally quicker? It's a very interesting scenario, and I'm interested to see when Reimer will decide to come in. Oh, his Bong is retired. Okay, that is thankfully in the pit lane. Got a bit of a heart rate scare there as a moment, because I was like, oh, please tell me we're not in safety car opportunity there. Nope, Bonga has called it quits in the pit lane, thankfully enough. See what Reimer decides to do. Of course, has still yet to stop. Will he make his way into the pit lane? The answer will be no. So Reimer is going to take his chances for at least another lap, probably 2 laps here, I'd say, until he begins to notice. I think what Reimer doesn't know right now is that Scornsy is slightly closing in here to King Pro player. It's not necessarily a lot, although he has taken off about a second. Because King Pro, again, as King Pro's actually making his scheduled pit stop now. So King Pro back onto the circuit. He'll come out in roughly 6th place, maybe 7th. As Walrus has entered the pit lane as well. So Scornsy, 21.7 behind Reimer now. So I think, oh, it's got to be close. Reimer's going to be on those medium tires as well. He's going to be right quick, that's for sure. Yeah, this is such a tough situation here for Reimer, because he knows he's going to have to work once he exits the pit lane. I will say, thankfully for Reimer here, Scornsy is not exactly shaving off that time as quick as you'd might expect, considering Reimer is on, now 16, 17 lap old hard tires. He's really only shaved off about 0.3 of a second this lap, and it's very much fluctuating. It's not a solid number. Maybe net 0.2 of a second gain from Scornsy if he keeps it together. Reimer has decided to stay out another lap. Now that's bold, because having seen King Pro Player pit this time by this previous go-round, you would think that Reimer would look and say, hey, listen, maybe, potentially, is this my time here? Because, again, the problem with what Reimer is doing right now, of course, he's leaving it more towards the end of the Grand Prix for those medium tires. That's great and fine, and he'll probably still have a fair chance at clawing back to the Sauber in question. But the problem is that now he's actually reducing the amount of time he has left at the back end of the race to be able to get up to the Sauber. Let's say Scornsy's able to get ahead of him clean, and Reimer somehow, someway ends up behind Jabeur and has to battle the Williams for some time there. That is not helping Reimer's case, or even potentially Charlie Golf, as that's the next car up. Let's say that happens for Reimer. He's going to have to get around the Mercedes and then work to get back up to the top spot at Scornsy. So he's using his own, he's using up his own tires in trying to avoid and get around other traffic that he shouldn't have to deal with. Because now what we're seeing is Scornsy, in the past 3 laps, has now gained a second on Reimer's time here. I mean, this is dangerous territory for the Mercedes. He's got to come in this lap. He really does. I mean, if he doesn't, I would be surprised. And thankfully, he has decided that now is the time. Oh, he's coming in a bit quick there. Very close indeed. So let's see what Reimer decides to do. Of course, it will be the medium tires as expected. Scornsy is only making his way in towards turn 16 now. Reimer is now exiting the pit lane. Scornsy looks like he will absolutely be taking back the lead of this Grand Prix. The question will be for how long, as Reimer on those medium tires will undoubtedly be very quick. Reimer is going to be maybe 3 or 4 seconds shy there of being able to challenge Scornsy. Jabeur has got a tenner for speeding into the pit lane. Very unfortunate for him. King Pro Player on the mediums, despite having the 3-second penalty, currently holds on to 4th. Reimer is 5 seconds behind Scornsy. That's not good. And what's even worse is the fact that Reimer appears to actually, I was going to say temporarily, there was losing time to the back end of the Sauber. He's got to either hope that Scornsy coughs up a 3-second penalty here, or he's got enough in the tank to be able to get back up to the Sauber within the next 10 laps. That is going to be one hell of an ask for the Mercedes of Reimer here. And so in the time that I've decided to take a couple of sips of my water, Reimer's actually shaved off about 0.6 of a second there. So it definitely appears again that the Mercedes is the quicker car. Again, we talk about how Scornsy dominated this race, at least in the early proceedings. Reimer was on pole by nearly 0.6 of a second. Scornsy just had that good of a first stint, and in fairness, Reimer, having been on the hards, didn't help his chances either in the opening goings there. Well, Reimer's and I will say this as well about Reimer. Does it usually play with the strategies a little bit more than other people? A lot of the grid which we saw tonight, the majority of which did take the safe route in starting on, the medium tires. Only 5 of which had started on those hards. Scornsy being one, King Pro Player being the other. As Angry Walrus is going to get around Merc here for the 9th spot. But you see, I think sometimes we need to see more drivers taking risk. Because what that's done for Reimer, he's had his confidence in his pace as well, which is super important, considering as well, the deficit that he's having to overcome here within these last 10 laps. He believes in his own pace. He believes in his own strategy call. And I think now when you've got a combination like that of confidence, it really does bode poorly for the drivers ahead of you. But again, what I will say is this: Reimer realistically is running out of time to get up to Scornsy and then to be able to take the lead. He starts this lap, the 21st lap of the Grand Prix, 3 seconds behind, so he needs to cough up 2 seconds here to get within DRS range. And then he's got to be able to overtake Scornsy. That's a lot to do in the time he's got left. Scornsy is way too talented of a driver, in my opinion, to be giving up time like that. As King Pro Player really to the apex there at turn 1. Charlie Golf is going to be trying to hold on here through the inside of 2. And as they transition their way towards turn 3, King Pro was able to have good acceleration and will take the 3rd spot, albeit does have that 3-second penalty to his name. But King Pro player was able to do quite well there. Nicely done. It was quite an aggressive move as well. No contact, obviously, but having sent it that deep to the inside at turn 1, that was a bit of a send there. And in fairness, it's done quite well. So as I've pulled myself away from that battle between Scornsy and Reimer temporarily, Reimer has once again chopped down that advantage to about 2 seconds. He's gained a second in this lap alone. I mean, this is ridiculous now. The pace he's putting here, does he have the fastest lap? I'm assuming he does. Yes, he does, and he's got it by some margin as well. Well, I say some margin, only about 1/10 of a second there over King Pro, but yeah, anyway, for what it's worth. It's a good lap there from King Pro anyway. He'll start the 22nd lap of the Grand Prix behind Scornsy by just under 2 seconds. It'll be 1.9 heading into the braking zone of turn 1. Reimer has 9/10 of a second between himself and getting within DRS range here. Now, again, I'll be fair, I didn't think that this was looking too good for Reimer here, but with the ground that he is making up this quickly, I'll be honest, Scornsy's days are numbered here at the top of this grid. As Merck is going to get around the outside of our Manson heading down the pit straight in towards turn 1. Curveball was not able to try to overtake Johnny Damon. Jabor's going to have a look to the inside of Owa. He's made that one happen for the 10th spot. As they begin Sector 2, the gap is now down to 1.3. It is getting very close here indeed. It'll be 7 laps to go at the line this time by. Walrus is now, that's a penalty there for Walrus. Is second, now up to 6 seconds in penalty. I think the question has to be now, how much is Scornsy willing to defend? How rough? As Reimer only just missed out on DRS this time by. I'm not sure if he was within the second at the detection point as we've got the Williams. It's Johnny Damon who's gone round. We'll get to that in a minute. Reimer has now opened DRS and is closing down on Scornsy quite significantly here. In towards the first corner. He's going to be 7/10 of a second shy. I think it was coming out of turns... what turn? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was coming out of turn 10 there, I believe, was the accident for Johnny Damon. Doesn't appear that he's hit anything, but again, it goes from pretty okay to not very good for Johnny Damon. And again, Johnny Damon, one of those drivers that unfortunately he must not be Irish, that's all I'm going to say, because he does not have luck, that's for sure. I mean, realistically, if we're talking best out of 10, luck's going to win 5 times. It just appears that for Johnny Damon, luck is only really going to win 1 or 2 times. You got to have a good balance of both to be a successful racing driver. You got to have talent, which I believe Johnny Damon has bags of talent. You got to have luck as well, and he just lacks in that department, in my opinion. And unfortunately, there's really just not much else he can do about it other than keep hoping and keep trying. Rounding it, turn 16 down the pit straight. Reimer is right up along the back end of Scornsy here, heading in towards turn 1, and he's going to have this one relatively easily. Reimer is back up to the lead for the first time since about that 100-meter braking board in towards turn 1. And I say that, of course, he did lead after Scornsy had pit. That's absolutely true. This is genuine on pace since going into that first corner off the start. And already, again, he's put about 7/10 of a second behind the Sauber. And unfortunately for what I will say about Scornsy this time is that it wasn't luck that got that got the best of him today. It really wasn't. He just got done in on the strategy. Reimer has absolutely been confident in that alternate tire starting strategy, and it's worked to a T today. And a lot of the times it simply won't. And what it won't work for here is King Pro player, who now having picked up his second 3-second time penalty, that will drop him to 4th. This is very unfortunate for him. which in fairness I think could have been on there to at least keep that podium. And now starting lap 25. Got 5 laps to go here in Qatar. And Reimer's got a 2.5 advantage over Scornsy. It does appear the two Astons will invert positions there. Merck is about 0.7 of a second behind Curveball. Of course, Curveball has 3 seconds of penalty to his name as well. As the grid quite spread out here as well. That's okay, though. Making their way down the pit straight. I assume a good battle going on here. Heading towards that first corner. Let's see what can happen. Curveball's going to duck to the inside temporarily. Merck will take his chances around the outside of the V-carb and will be able to make that one happen. Not necessarily with ease, but yeah, kind of with ease. I mean that's what happens. Got DRS as powerful as it is here. So Merck up to 5th. Good result here for Merck going if he's able to hold on. +3 on the day, +7 for Walrus. Of course, he'll be losing at least a spot with the penalty accumulated to his name. I think Merck is probably going to go down, either Merck or Curveball. No, I think definitely Merck is going to be going down as driver of the day here, unless does Charlie Golf pick up a 3-second penalty here in the final goings, as King Pro does have 2.1, nearly 2.2 back to the Mercedes. And unless King Pro keeps that spot, which I don't think he's going to be able to. Merck's not going to climb any. He's 15 seconds behind that battle for 3rd. Curveball, should he be able to stay ahead of Angry Walrus, and Manson will remain at +3. Walrus will lose, I think, at least 2 spots here, bringing him down to +5. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough call. Got 4 laps to go here in the desert. Curveball gets back within DRS range on Merck. And around the outside, back up to the 5th spot. Merck, I thought temporarily there was going to have a bit of a go in response, but didn't quite commit to it. It appears Agnote has had a bit of a go-around going through turn 7. Whatever his issues was, he's fixed it. And is back up to speed now. What I will say is this as well. What's going to help Reimer even more is the fact that he's quite close, actually, to being able to get DRS on the back marker of Agnote. Again, if you are within 1 second of the back marker ahead, within the DRS zone, you can also open the rear wing flap. The only thing Reimer's got to look out for here is the fact that he is 2.8 ahead of Scornsy, and I'm not too sure how many warnings he does have. 3 laps to go here. Merck, I don't believe, is going to be close enough to Curveball for the time being. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we get a good battle going behind between Manson and Damon. Well, that's not good. Manson appears to have had somewhat of a connectivity issue there, and he's lagged out of the session. That's going to almost certainly ensure Damon gets around him and may even stay around him there. Merck's going to get back up to the 5th spot now. As again, the battle for the top 2, it appears that the Red Bull has ceded position. Scornsy's got to keep it clean, and he's got to hope that Reimer doesn't, because of course, again, Reimer only 2.9, now eventually 3 ahead of the Sauber as well. Should Reimer pick up the 3-second time penalty, that will not bode well for him, and I think that's kind of what Scornsy's hoping for here. Because on that front, at least, Scornsy is relatively keeping and giving chase here to the Mercedes ahead. The line this time will be 2 laps to go here. Unfortunately, and I hate to say this, there doesn't appear to be a genuine battle for position on the grid. Curveball's got 6 seconds back to Merck. That's not going to happen. Johnny Damon, I don't even think will be gaining a spot here. Back to Walrus. He's about 6/10 shy. Jabor's half a second away from Manson. But, of course, he's got 10 seconds of penalty to his name. as Johnny Damon, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That'll put him at 6, and that is erased his opportunity of being able to climb up to the 7th spot after penalties applied. Oh, that's even worse. Johnny Damon has gone around, yes, significantly exiting turn 16. That car has decided to go for a bit of a beach day there. He has refound the racing circuit, the racing surface, but again, I'm afraid for Johnny Damon, it will be, unfortunately, not a very good finish for him today. Coming through the triple right-hander for the penultimate time. Reimer will be starting the final lap of the Grand Prix here momentarily, and this is a testament as to how easy this one seems to have gone here since the pit window for Reimer has gotten his battery back up to 100%. He's actually going to start a bit of a hot lap here and try for that fastest lap attempt. Final lap of the Grand Prix underway. Of course, again, Reimer's got to keep it clean because I don't know how many warnings he's on, and Scornsy's still 2.7, 2.8. Scornsy's looking like right now, so you're telling me there's a chance. Well, there might just be if Reimer is clumsy on this final lap. We'll have to wait and see. No other cars are within DRS range of each other for the time being, I'm afraid. As making his way through turn 6. Of course, once again, be sure to join us on March 12th as we head to the Circuit of the Americas, March 19th when we head to Monza, and then Spa on April the 2nd. The next 3 rounds coming up as Reimer just a couple of corners away here from claiming yet another win in the CCRL Wednesday tier. Of course, this season seems to have so far been slightly more difficult for Reimer than it has in previous seasons. He's not exactly struggled, but the rest of the grid has definitely caught up to him in terms of we've got Scornsy, we've got Charlie Golf, got King Pro Player can be thrown into that mix as well, and of course occasionally Johnny Damon. But one thing that has remained a constant here is just the domination that Reimer can perform whenever he feels like it, and he's absolutely done so here again today. Reimer will win the Qatar Grand Prix, unfortunately not setting the fastest lap there on that final go-around. Scornsy, with a fantastic effort, does finish in 2nd. Of course, again, it was the tire strategy that made the difference today. Reimer, of course, has bags of pace, but it's the strategy that did it. Being on those mediums for that second stint has absolutely helped him. Charlie Golf will finish 3rd. King Pro Player, after penalties applied, will be 4th. Merck coming out of the final quarter now. Good day for Merck here. He'll be +3, finishing 5th. It'll be Curveball in 6th. Of course, a couple of guys coming across the line now. Angry Walrus appears, if he finishes, keeps it on merit here, will finish 7th. And yes, he will. 7th place, +7 in the positive direction for Angry Walrus, having not put even a time on the board in qualifying. Fantastic race for him. He'll go down as driver of the day. And thank you guys very much for watching here. Join us once again next time out on March 12th when we head to Coda for another edition of the CCRL Wednesday tier for Hotspot. It has been a pleasure joining you once more, and we'll see you next time.